Hello, my name is Debbie Martin. I am the Iowa NASDA coordinator and the Upper Midwest Region's ARMS 3 project manager. In this presentation, I will review the ARMS 3 corn version. It will be the yellow questionnaire as shown on the screen. Today, I will review the purpose of ARMS 3 corn data and point out the differences between corn and the CRR questionnaire. Cost of production surveys are conducted on a rotating basis, generally every 4 to 8 years. Corn is typically every 5 to 6 years. It was last conducted in 2016 and 2010. Data collected this year will be utilized to see the changes from previous corn surveys. Data will be used for research purposes by the ERS and other organizations, such as other government agencies and officials, academic facilities, such as state universities, extension offices, farmers, agricultural consultants, agricultural press, and others until the next corn version is conducted. Similar to all ARMS 3 data, information will be used to improve legislation that will affect farmers across the nation. ERS publishes a lot of different types of articles using ARMS data and other sources. This particular article is from the Farm Use of Futures, Options, and Marketing Contracts, published in October 2020. As you can see in the footnotes of this chart, this data was collected from the 2016 ARMS 3. Research shows that in 2016, corn and soybean producers accounted for 93% of the futures and option contracts used by U.S. farmers, and 60% of all production covered by marketing contracts. On average, farms that used future contracts covered 41% of their corn production in 2016. Shares were relatively similar for marketing contracts, which covered 42%. For those of you like me who like seeing the spotlighted information, the ERS Charts of Notes is published daily with highlights from current and past research reports. If you are interested, you can find the Charts of Notes on the ERS webpage and subscribe to their daily reports. By the time operators were contacted for ARMS 3, they had the potential of being contacted for Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 was conducted between May and July 2021. Phase 1 screens for in-business operations, and for the corn version, operators of corn. In recent years, NASA started using previously reported data, or PRD, to reduce respondent burden. Nearly 70% of the final ARMS 3 sample was screened using previously reported data. Operators selected for ARMS 3 corn version were contacted last fall to complete Phase 2 for field level data. If an operator reported no corn in Phase 2, you still need to complete Phase 3. It will be similar to completing the CRR version. Follow the appropriate skips throughout the questionnaire. The corn questionnaire is 28 pages. Although the questionnaires are similar, there are slight modifications to some sections, with an extra 2 sections at the end of the questionnaire. Over the next few slides, I will point out differences between the corn and CRR versions. There are 4 sections with questions which are on the CRR questionnaire, but not corn. Section A, CRR page 3, irrigated cropland questions 13 and 14. Section E, page 7, direct sales questions 3 and 4. Section G, page 10, agritourism questions 5 through 7. Also in section G, there is no breakout of energy production, question 3H. In section K, page 19, COVID question 14, and page 20, farm management practices questions 16 through 20. The type of operation and farm producer household sections themselves are unchanged. The only difference is they are asked in a different order. For CRR, type of operation is section L and is asked before household data as section M. For corn, it is reversed. Household is section L, and type of operation is section M. The information in the two sections are the same between the two versions. In section H, the expense section has 17 additional questions in the corn version. As you can see on the screen, the initial questions are the same. It then asks how much the expense was allocated to the corn enterprise. These additional expenses include seed, fertilizer, chemicals, fuels, electricity, drying, irrigation, repairs and maintenance, insurance, labor and custom work, marketing and storage, and landlord expenses. If an operator does not know the exact expense utilized for corn, ask if the operator is willing to provide a percentage. For example, 60% of all sealed costs were for corn. Write a note on the outside of the box. After your interview, go back and calculate the expense and enter the appropriate amount in the cell. Section N, beginning on page 23, is the first corn-specific section and asks non-genetically modified, genetically engineered corn. Non-GMO GE corn is produced using conventional production techniques such as chemical fertilizers and pesticides without using genetically engineered seed. Organic corn is also grown without GE seed, but should not be included in this section. This data is important because a market for food produced using conventional production techniques without GE seed has emerged in addition to the market for organic food. While private groups still provide most of the third-party verification of non-GMO GE corn, USDA began offering verification services as well as a weekly price report for non-GMO GE corn in 2015. Question 3 asks to report the economic losses due to GMO GE presence in a non-GMO GE corn crop. If there are losses, report the 3 most recent economic losses due to an unintended presence of GMO GE material in a non-GMO GE corn crop sale. Column 4 is a monetary loss or per unit, not total loss. Question 4 asks the use of non-GMO GE seed that contains a gene blocking trait to inhibit GMO GE fertilization. Farmers may recognize this as a pollen blocking trait. An example of this seed is pure maize. If yes, record the price premium paid for the 2021 seed purchased. If the operator reported in question 5 that they implemented practices specifically to avoid the presence of GMO GE material in their non-GMO GE corn crop, then record the cost of these practices in question 6. If a value is recorded in question 6C other, make notes in the space provided. Examples of other practices could include using third-party verified non-GMO seed, cleaning combines, grain drills, planters, and other equipment to assure they are free of contaminants. Section O is about drying the 2021 corn crop. Information gathered in this section will be used in engineering relationships to estimate operating and ownership drying costs of corn drying facilities. Drying costs for custom drying, on-farm fuel, electricity, repairs, and capital are added to these same costs for other operations to estimate total machinery and equipment operating and ownership costs of corn production. Drying needs can vary greatly by year and region due to the annual weather conditions. An appropriate corn moisture helps prevent mold and crop loss while being stored, usually 13 to 15% for corn. Even though Section O is titled corn drying, Section O needs to be complete if corn was harvested for grain in 2021. Questions 1 through 3 relate to all corn harvested for grain. If corn was harvested for silage, question 1 equals no. and skip to the conclusion. Only record data for the 2021 corn crop. In question 2, enter the month the majority of corn was harvested in 2021. Month is to be reported in a 2-digit month. For example, 09 equals September, 10 equals October, and etc. Corn is dried if a type of fuel is used for a heat source or electricity. Custom drying may be referred to as commercial drying and is typically done at the local elevator. Corn dried by this operation includes on-farm drying. Corn left to dry in the field is considered not dried. Record the total bushels dried in each category or percent of the total crop. Reported bushels or percent should account for the total corn crop harvested for grain in 2021. Number 4 is only asked if there is a value in question 3A. Corn was custom dried. As mentioned in the previous slide, custom drying is typically completed at the local elevator. Drying costs are usually included with other costs owed to the co-op. Make sure you only account for drying costs in question 4. The remaining questions 5 through 8 refer to corn dried on this operation. Question 5, record the main fuel type used for drying the 2021 corn crop. If more than one type was used, enter the code for the type used to dry the largest portion of the crop. Question 6, record corn moisture at harvest, which means before any drying takes place. Report the labor hours for drying the corn crop. Type of labor should correlate with labor reported in section K, personal characteristics, and farm management section on page 18. For example, if there are no part-time employees reported in section K, there cannot be part-time employees reported here in section O. Include time spent on loading and unloading corn crop, filling and emptying dryers, and time spent overseeing the drying. Exclude any custom drying labor or contract labor. The last question in section O refers to the type of facility used to dry the corn. Record the primary facility used, how many were used, and the total capacity of the facilities. Continuous flow and batch drying can be done inside a bin. If it is done in a bin, it needs to be reported as bin code 1. Report as continuous flow and batch dryers only if they are facilities outside of a bin. That concludes the presentation for the corn version. Thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, please reach out to your local RFO staff. Thank you for your continued hard work on ARMS 3.